not quite sure if I think this pivot is possible. I'm not quite sure if there's anything that I could ever be excited about. When you keep that all inside, it really,
Yeah.
like in your subconscious mind, it starts to inform all of your conscious decisions. Welcome back to Answer the Call podcast, where we help Christians faithfully discern their calling and then land a job that's aligned with it. Today's episode is for anyone who maybe feels trapped by their job or their resume or their experience. And what I mean by that are thoughts along the lines of, I'm too far down this path to pivot. Maybe my experience only qualifies me for one type of job, or I'm capable of more, but no one is seeing it, or maybe just flat out I'm exhausted and I don't know how to get out. If any of those statements resonate with you, then I pray and believe that this conversation is going to encourage you, because our guest that we have today, Maddie, had a great role at a great company with great benefits, all the things, but behind the scenes, she was extremely burnt out, underemployed, emotionally drained, and really convinced that she was pigeonholed into this career or into this projected career path forever. Maybe, is that dramatic enough? I don't know. But after taking that leap of faith and really leaving her role without another job lined up, we're going to talk about that. She walked through a lot of uncertainty and fear, as I'm sure you can imagine, but ultimately in a job that she is genuinely excited about. So today, we're unpacking it all: identity, courage, transferable skills, burnout recovery, and ultimately trusting God when that next chapter isn't quite visible yet. Maddie, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you. Thanks for having me. I'm excited to be here.
So excited to have you on. You're absolutely a joy and pleasure to talk to. So before we jump into it, can you give a quick overview of like the role you left and the role that you're stepping into now?
Yeah, absolutely. So I was a executive assistant or executive coordinator at Deloitte. I'd been in that role for about 4 years and was supporting executives, partners at Deloitte all across the firm. So got a wide variety of experiences there. And now I am moving into business operations within the strategic growth office at Crow.
Very cool. And like I said in the intro, I mean, you just described it. Great role, great company, got lots of experience.
Yeah.
But you were experiencing some pretty extreme burnout. So can you just talk a little bit about what life was feeling like in that burnout season?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I'll be straight up honest with how it looked for me. At the end of the day, at the end of the workday, I had zero left in the tank. And it felt like at the start of the next workday, I had zero left in the tank. And so it was really just, I saw I was not showing up as I wanted to be for my husband, for my friends, in my relationships in and outside of work. And so really, it just came to a point where I was juggling all these balls, and one of them was going to drop and shatter if I didn't take stock of which of the balls I could safely drop. And so, yeah, burnout came quick. It kind of snuck up on me. But I was so thankful to find y'all in the midst of it and get to start working on the next thing.
Yeah, that actually is one of the best descriptions of burnout that I've heard. Like just juggling all of these balls and knowing that one was going to come crashing down. And as two perfectionists sitting on this call right now,
Yeah.
that's quite terrifying.
Yes. Yeah. I had a college professor once that said, we have to be aware which of those balls is going to drop and which one would shatter if it dropped. And, my friendships, I don't want that to shatter. My spouse, I need to be here for him and be the best wife that I can be. And so, I knew which of those responsibilities to me were the most important. And, yeah, for me, that was not work at that time. And so that was the one that I got to set down for a little while.
Yeah. Oh, we're going to get into that because I'm really curious to hear some of your thoughts about setting it down, having a little bit of a career break. But I wanted to tease out one point first of this idea of being, or the feeling you had of being underemployed. How did that also contribute to the burnout?
Yeah, that honestly, it contributed more than I expected or than I saw at first. I was doing the same thing all day, every day. I was spending 9 hours a day in Microsoft calendars. And it eventually was just like, this is the same thing, different font every single day. And it wasn't challenging me. It wasn't really contributing to any sort of growth professionally or personally. And so, um, yeah, I knew that I had skills outside of that, and that the Lord has gifted me in other ways in addition to administratively. And so I really wanted to find something that like used those more and wasn't only pulling from that administrative bucket, or that administrative sort of skill set that I have.
I'm hearing is like you're giving everything you have, but not seeing the growth.
Exactly. Yes. Like spending so much energy and so much capacity doing something that truly was not exciting to me. And so, and not that work always has to be exciting, but um, I'd like to be excited about it
Yeah.
in some regard. And I had just kind of lost sight of that as my job became more and more copy paste, same thing day in, day out.
Yeah, you had mastered it and you wanted some more skills to, or some more things to challenge you. So there's kind of a funny uh duality or maybe an irony here of you wanted more but you also felt pigeonholed. Can you talk about like even conceptualizing or trying to conceptualize a career pivot? Did that feel possible to you, or if it did or didn't, just kind of talk about that a little bit?
Honestly, not at all. And I have come to realize now that a lot of that was just expectations that I was putting on myself, or almost these ceilings that I was putting on myself. It doesn't actually exist, is what I've come to find. Like I could do a career pivot, but I believed that I was pigeonholed. I had sort of been soft applying to certain things and was only getting no's. And then also, like when looking at my resume, I was like, okay, well, I am really only qualified to do an executive assistant position. So maybe I just need to take this and do it somewhere else or for someone else. Um, but I felt like I couldn't take it and do something completely different, um, because my resume just looked one type of way. But that, like I said, that was truly just me believing these things. It was nobody telling me that this was true. It wasn't even experience showing that it was true. It was just a negative sort of self-talk that I had been preaching to myself over the course of the 4 years, that was all I could do, and that was all I would ever be able to do.
Yeah, we like to call those self-limiting beliefs.
There it is.
Mhm. Yeah, and oh, gosh, those are so powerful, keeping you so powerful in keeping you stuck. So you were in this place, just kind of recap what we've identified so far. You were in this place of wanting more, but not believing that it was possible, which kept
Exactly.
you stuck, which also, I'll speak for you a little bit here. Just knowing you and seeing this, gosh, that amplifies burnout
So
so
much.
much more. Yeah.
Yes. It like multiplies it by a million. Exactly.
Yeah. So you had to take the leap of faith, right? I mentioned it in the intro of doing that very scary thing that our parents always told us to never, ever, ever do. And it's not right for everyone in every situation, but you left a job without having another job lined up. How'd you know this was the right move for you? Or how'd you have enough faith to make that leap, I guess?
Gosh, I mean, praise God for giving me the faith to trust him in that. Honestly, it was not, I'm like type A, Enneagram 1. I'm very much I always have a plan and I follow said plan. And like you said, I mean, my sweet parents will probably listen to this, but they
We
were,
love you, mom and dad.
love you, mom and dad. Y'all are the best. But they were the same way, where they are type A. They're very much, they have a plan. My dad has been so loyal to his company. And so, and my partners, when I told them, they were like, "Are you sure that you want to do this? This is a risky thing." But truly, I mean, the Lord was telling me over and over again that he wanted to give me rest. And that he is such a kind father. And like when he was teaching me in those weeks, that he is a father and he wants to care for me as his daughter. And part of that is leading me by the still waters. And part of that is allowing me to rest and be rejuvenated and renewed to go back out into the workforce. And so, honestly, he gave me the faith to take that step. And then, of course, my sweet husband was so sweet um, and supporting that decision making process, and a whole lot of prayer, a whole lot of trust in the Lord, and a whole lot of talking with y'all too. I mean, y'all were so helpful and helping me think through the fears that were popping up of like, is a gap on my resume gonna preclude me from potential opportunities without even like from the get-go? Are they just gonna rule me out because I don't have something that I'm working on right now? Or like all the fears were popping up, and y'all were so helpful in walking through those. And then really, I think the most helpful, not well, one of the most helpful things was that y'all taught me how to bring these fears to the Lord, and just like um how to voice them, and then how to just sit and hear from him and trust that he wants to calm those fears and then wants to reassure me in his faithfulness. And so um yeah, that's a lot, but I think that it was really just him that carried me through making that leap of faith and trusting that what he has next is what he is good.
Oh, so much truth in that, so much goodness in that. So you felt this call to a restful season. And not to plug the name of this podcast, but you answered the call.
Yeah.
You took the leap of faith to answer that call, and it wasn't visible. And you compared it to Peter stepping out of the boat in Matthew 14.
Yeah.
What was there anything about that story that really resonated with you during this season?
Yeah. So I, like Peter, Peter, or Jesus says to Peter to step out of the boat and to walk on the water towards Jesus, right? And Peter steps out of the boat. He starts walking, and then he sees the wind and he sees the waves, and he's like, "Oh my goodness!" And he starts to fear. And that's kind of how I felt. Like, I trusted the Lord. I stepped out of the boat. I started the walk, right, of working with y'all and identifying what could be next. And but then I saw the wind and I saw the waves of my bank account shrinking, or my like getting no's, getting rejections from people, or having to sit in the waiting between applying and hearing back, um, or doubting my abilities, like circling back to what we talked about earlier of feeling pigeonholed, going back to moments of that, and um, being fearful for whatever career was coming next. And so um yeah, I saw those and I started to sink. I was overwhelmed by them. But just like in that story in Matthew 14, Jesus reaches out his hand to Peter, and I really felt the Lord reach his hand out to me in those moments, and remind me of his faithfulness and remind me of his power. It doesn't matter what I'm able to do or not able to do, but um, the Lord has control, and I don't need it and I don't want it, because his control is way better than mine. So lots of learnings.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, that's so good. And just to round up this part of our conversation, you already mentioned a couple things here, but I'd love to summarize what, or add in any new information. What did trusting God look like practically in this season?
Yeah, a lot of journaling for me, a lot of writing things out specifically. And then I mean, the Lord was speaking to me very clearly through his word during this time also. Like I was already going through Matthew, and he just so happened that story was what I was reading on the day where, on like one of the worst days of fear, right? And so um a lot of it looked like that, or chatting with y'all about fears, or chatting with Rob or with friends, um, and being reminded of the Lord's faithfulness in the past, of how they've seen him be faithful in my life, um, and reminded that I can trust him for the future as well.
Beautiful. And this is
Yeah.
my official disclaimer to everybody listening to the podcast. I don't tell everyone to quit their jobs. I highlight those stories a lot on the podcast because I think they're interesting. I just want to share that disclaimer. In your situation, Maddie, it really made sense.
Yes.
So thanks for talking us through like the practical and then the fears,
Yeah.
everything that is wrapped up in that. How long was it from when you quit your job to when you landed your new job?
I quit. My last day was November 12th, and then I signed the new contract April 12th, or something along those lines.
Okay.
So I don't know, is that 6 months?
February, March, April. 5 months.
5 months. There we
Yeah.
go.
Oh, wow.
But
Okay. Average
I,
time that it takes.
yeah, yeah, and it was really nice because I took November to through Christmas time to sort of be renewed, be refreshed, and take a pause. Um, and of course be present for all the holidays and all that fun stuff, and then really hit the ground running in applications in that process in January. So yeah, January to April of actually grinding.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a good timeline to highlight because the 5 months included that rest period, that clarity period, and also the entire job search. The average job search is typically about 5 months total, so you're a little under average when it comes to under average, below average. I mean that in a good way. Her timeline was shorter than most people, which is a good thing in the job search when you actually think about applying to jobs. But we'll get into that in a little bit in more detail. I want to talk more about clarity and those kind of ceilings that you talked about. So,
Yeah.
what, as we started to work together through the clarity process, what changed in the way, or started to change in the way that you viewed yourself professionally?
Mm. Honestly, at first I was battling a lot of that pigeonholing, sort of self-fulfilling pigeonholing, I guess, where I was having these informational interviews with people, learning about other careers, and either not feeling excited about some of them or most of them, or feeling like, oh, I couldn't do that, I'm not qualified for that. um, so at first that was sort of what I was facing. But then we were so specifically praying for something to be exciting, and for, I guess, a vision of what could come next. And I had one conversation with some random person that I reached out to on LinkedIn. And from there, it was like, ah, yes, business operations. This is so exciting. And this is somewhere that I can visibly see and understand how what I've done and the skills that have been built over the last few years, where it can translate very clearly. So I'm sorry, was that answering the question? Can you repeat
Yes.
the question?
Yeah, no, that was a great answer to the question.
Okay.
Also, we prayed before this for everybody listening that you wouldn't be able to hear the construction outside my window. I fear you might be able to hear it, so bear with me. Hopefully, the background suppresses it. Can you hear
I
it?
can't hear it. I cannot hear
Oh,
it. So
okay, great. Thank you for that immediate feedback. That was a great answer. Where, because I remember that you were so honest. You were like, hey, girl, none of these suggestions are working for me. Nothing's sounding fun. Nothing's sounding good. And one of the most important things with the actually moving forward in decisions when it comes to career or just big life decisions is honesty, and honestly sharing how you're feeling about a situation. So honestly sharing I'm not quite sure if I think this pivot is possible. I'm not quite sure if there's anything that I could ever be excited about. When you keep that all inside, it really,
Yeah.
like in your subconscious mind, it starts to inform all of your conscious decisions. So you were a diligent um, attendee to the prayer calls and the group coaching calls, and we actually got to work through some of those mindset things so that you could see a possibility of a career working out when, you know, a prayer was answered and you actually did have a conversation with somebody about something that sounded exciting, business
Yeah.
operations.
Yeah, exactly. And it was also helpful on those calls to be there with people going through the similar stages of clarity that I was. And so, or even after I'd moved through that stage already, hearing from other people that were like, none of this is really exciting to me yet. Not none of the program, none of these potential career shifts are looking exciting to me yet. And um, it was helpful to have that community because I knew I wasn't alone in those sorts of feelings.
Yeah. Yeah. So you mentioned a key part of that was talking to somebody who was in business operations.
Yeah.
How did it, you had a lot of conversations with a lot of people. How did your view of networking change throughout this part of the process?
Good question. You know this. I came into the cold career absolutely despising networking. I hate to feel like a burden to people, or hate to like ask people to go out of their way. And it made me feel so icky when I was thinking about asking these people to have informational interviews. Um, but honestly, that has completely changed where I absolutely love it. I think that people are so excited to talk about things that are important to them, and most people's careers are important to them. And so I sort of stopped viewing it as a burden for people to have these chats with me and more of a opportunity for them to share something that they love. And so, um, yeah, I love to ask people to chat now, and I also even put myself out there and I'm like, hey, like on my LinkedIn post after I announced my career shift, I was like, if you want to chat, reach out. I'm happy to chat about this shift because um, I'm really thankful for the time that people and the energy that people put into chatting with me.
What an amazing picture of just kindness being multiplied, right? Where so many people were kind to you and were a blessing to you. And I believe you were a blessing to them because the people who love to help and who actually accept invitations to those kinds of calls, they want to help and they're honestly looking for opportunities to help people. So you're blessing them by giving them an opportunity to help
Hmm.
you. And now you get to pass that on to other people. And I really believe that ripple effect is such a beautiful picture of just sharing love and kindness and a version of being the hands and feet of Jesus.
Yeah.
So I'm so glad that you had that, or I guess networking was redeemed for you. Let's put
Yeah.
it that way.
That's a good way of putting it.
Yeah, and I can see how coming from your background of business school, consulting company, how networking could just like become a really kind of dirty word, right?
Yeah. Can feel superficial or yeah, just kind of ew.
Yeah. And I usually don't even use the word networking, right? I have kind of different versions of that word because it can feel like that, where it feels like using people and just kind of getting things out of people. But if you approach it with integrity and with purpose and intention, it really can be such an amazing connection point for humans. I don't know. I guess I could go on and on and on about that. But you met with somebody.
Yeah.
You love talking to people now. You'll talk to anyone. Anyone screwed out to you. Just kidding. Maybe
Anyway,
look at her
yeah.
LinkedIn post and see what she said. But I'm curious to tease out a little bit about like the overthinking versus the taking action. So how much did overthinking slow you down before this process, or even in
In
this process?
regards to uh what sorry, in
In
regards to
regards
what exactly?
to actually pursuing a career change.
Mm, mm. Yeah, I think that I would overthink. It's funny because I'm like, okay, was I overthinking or was I underthinking? Because maybe I was overthinking so much that I was like, nope, got to stop this. Let's shove it down and never think of it again. And thinking about a career change. And so, yeah, I think at first I was probably overthinking it of, oh, I can't do this, or oh, there's nothing I want to do, or, all the spirally type thoughts. And then at the end of the spiral, being like, ew, don't like these thoughts or feelings. Let's shove this down and just never think about it again. Um, but like you said, like we talked about, I was so burnt out that at some point it's going to come back up and I'm going to have to think about making a shift or making a change because nobody wants to stay in the burnout.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, that's so interesting. Like the overthinking led to underthinking, which led to lack of action, and brings me back to what I said earlier. And you said it too, getting honest with the Lord about what's actually going on. And you did that, you said, through journaling, through being in the Word. And if listeners out there, if you're taking one thing away from the podcast so far, I really think honesty is a big theme here of just be honest about what you like, what you don't like, what your desires are. If you don't know what your desires are, be honest about that. If you're confused, get it out of your system, because the overthinking,
Mhm.
the underthinking, both of those things together leads to inaction, and inaction leads to you staying stuck. And you, Maddie, talking about the action you took with networking and transforming and redeeming that word for you in your experience, I want to bring that back to action. It was actually sending connection requests, sending messages, even when you didn't want to. And
Yeah.
I'll let you share the famous mindset now, the phrase from our good friend James.
James, less think, more click.
Yes.
Yes,
Revolutionary.
exactly. Right. No need to overthink it. Just send it. And if they want to respond, they'll respond. And if they don't, no harm, no foul, because I'll probably never talk to them again. So,
Yeah,
like, what do I have to lose? Nothing.
exactly. Oh, we talked a good about burnout, but I'm curious for you to share kind of this transformation, right? What's different now? How did burnout distort your view of work before, and how does your view of work look different now?
Yeah. I'd say in the midst of the burnout, I viewed work as just a burden that is something I got to carry and something that I got to muscle my way through until who knows when. And so, yeah, I think that I just viewed work as something that sucks about life that we got to do. And post burnout, post uh, restoration and renewal, sort of, I guess, and rest. I view work as an opportunity and something that I get to do, not something that I have to do. Um, and I view it as flexible and very malleable, as opposed to just like you take what you get, I guess, and you don't throw a fit. And then that's kind of what I had beforehand. Like, oh, this is the job I have. I got to stick with it. And then now it's like, no, there's so much opportunity. There's so much that I can do. And it might not, like, it's not all in my control, but I can make a shift or I can dream with work. It's not just a rigid sort of, I'm not stuck.
Mm. Mm-hmm. Sounds very freeing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm like excited. My start date isn't for a couple more weeks and I'm like, I'm so pumped. I want to get in there.
Yeah. Yeah. So share more about the role that you're going into. What's this massive pivot, or maybe not even so massive? What does this pivot look like on the other side?
Yeah. Well, like I said, I haven't started yet. So I don't have the full picture yet as of, I'm not in it yet, but I do know that I'll be taking some of the administrative type stuff I was doing before. And I'll be supporting the leader of the strategic growth office, but I'll, in addition, be supporting the different initiatives that the strategic growth office are implementing. And so is implementing. So I'll be, who knows? I'll be doing a whole bunch of different things probably. It'll look a whole lot of different ways with their internal processes and systems. But yeah, I'm excited because it takes something I was good at with the administrative support. And yes, I'll be doing that. But it also expands on the parts of my former job that I really liked doing with identifying gaps, filling gaps, and adjusting processes to sustain and scale growth.
Beautifully said. And what I want to highlight in that is because I saw this journey in you. You came in and you said, no more admin, no more administrative tasks. I'm done. Not for me. And then you rested and you were renewed and you were able to come back to job postings a little bit more clearly and accept, hey, I'm actually really good at admin. There's a reason it was my entire job. While I don't want it to be my entire job, I'm okay if it makes up 20%, 30% of what I do.
Yeah.
I'm okay if it makes up a chunk. And that's a huge testament to actually resting, because you can come back saying a little bit clearer and it's not a complete rejection of what you did before. Okay, with a bit of a clearer mind, I can see why I was in that role, how I'm good at it, and allows me to have a little bit more of a realistic view on what this next job will look like.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. And it also, I think, gave me a little bit more confidence with finding a new role. If it has some of those administrative aspects, I know I'm good at those and I have lots of experience in it. And so my goal was, I guess, then to find something that built on the parts of my former role that I got to do rarely, but I really enjoyed. And so this role really expands on those. And yeah, I'm pumped.
Yeah, it's like flipping the percentage, let's say from 95% admin, 5% strategic growth to like 70% strategic growth, 30% admin. You know, probably listeners know too, I very much encourage the percentage thinking, quantifying things. It helps our brain to grasp onto reality a little bit more and not be controlled by the emotion when it comes to jobs. But you have shared lots of good tidbits. I'm tempted to ask you for like your top 2 to 3 tidbits. I don't want to put too much pressure on it, but if you had if you, looking back, what would you say are the 2 to 3 biggest things that really changed your process or impacted your process?
Mm. Well, first things first, having a tracking system for all things was revolutionary because I mean, obviously, I think in systems. That's how my brain works, and I love to be able to go back, see what I've done, feel accomplished, but then also know where I need to pick back up. And so, y'all have an amazing spreadsheet that just scratched the right itch in my brain. It was like perfect for everything that I needed. And I loved filling that out. It made me feel so accomplished each day. So I think that was the first big thing. Second big thing for me personally, I think it was helpful to come up with a list of different titles that could sort of fall under the umbrella of business operations, because that looks so different in so many different companies. And so I don't know where it is, but I had like a really long page list of different titles. And so I'd cycle through those. And that helped keep things interesting and different. And then also third, I'd say, as far as like practical tips, I would narrow the search to only things within the last 24 hours. If it was posted over 24 hours ago, I didn't even touch it. Just because recruiters are moving so quick, at least I think they are. And so I found a lot of success after I started narrowing it to the past 24 hours. I'd at least hear back from places more frequently. And that's when I saw the interview rate increase was after I narrowed it down. So those are probably my top 3.
Those are really good. Everybody should rewind and listen to those again because I major stamp of approval. I think those are excellent tips to highlight. Last question I have for you, Maddie. If you is speaking directly to the person who maybe feels trapped in a job title or who knows that they're capable of more but feels unseen maybe or unable to make that pivot, what would you tell them?
When I felt stuck, the first thing that, and unseen, I really heard the Lord speak to me through 2 Timothy 2. It's a whole chunk about being a good soldier of Jesus Christ. And hang on. It talks about enduring suffering, about working hard so we can present ourselves to God and receive his approval. Like, we're not working for our manager's approval. We're not working for our own approval, or our coworkers, whoever. We are laboring in the workforce for the Lord, and everything that we do is a reflection of him. And so it says, be a good worker, one who does not need to be ashamed and who correctly explains the word of truth. So anyways, I would just encourage you to go read 2 Timothy 2 and reflect on being a soldier for the Lord. But then also, if that looks like a career change needs to come for you, then I encourage you to take the leap because it's so worth it. And I don't know, I often felt like, well, am I just thinking the grass is greener on the other side, or it won't actually be as green as it is here? Either way, thinking that whatever's next is going to be worse or better than what I have now. I don't know, like I've seen the Lord be so faithful in all of this process. And yeah, I just would encourage you to trust him and to labor on.
Labor on. Yeah, I
I
heard
don't
one.
know.
Oh, no, that's great. That is great. And I heard once the grass isn't greener on the other side, it's greener where you water it.
Mm-hmm.
Water your grass by reading scripture, getting honest with the Lord, listening to him, creating space to listen to him,
Mm-hmm.
reading 2 Timothy 2, all the things. Maddie,
Yeah.
thank you so much for sharing your journey with us and talking us through this whole process. I've been so in awe of just your surrender and your willingness to just follow where the Lord led you, and your presence and activity in that, like your participation in that. I really believe that you're such a great example of that. So thanks for letting me highlight that story on the podcast and spending your time here with us.
Thanks for having me. This was so fun.
Good. All right. Bye, Maddie.
Bye.
Thanks for listening to today's episode. To get an even more meaningful head start into your calling, head to thecalledcareer.com, where my fellow career coach Audrey and I have created a whole suite of free resources and tools to help you get clear and get a job today. For those who are definitely ready to land a job or start a business in the next 6 to 12 months, we're here to help you biblically and practically discern your calling through coaching, reflection, and deep market research. Identify the job that's aligned with it, even if you currently have no idea what you want. Rebrand your resume and LinkedIn to translate your background to appeal to your future boss. P.S. We take this off your plate and do this for you. Also, we'll teach you how to land referrals and get attention from leadership through networking. Again, if that makes you nervous, we have these emails and LinkedIn messages literally written for you so you don't have to sweat. We're also here to give you unlimited interview practice so you're prepared to address every elephant in the room and knock selling yourself out of the park. Then we'll round out with helping you negotiate your salary so you land thousands more. Just so you know, recent clients have gotten $8,000 to $50,000 salary increases, even though they were totally non-traditional candidates. That's because we specialize in helping non-traditional career pivoters land jobs they're ecstatic to serve in. It takes work, but we're here to see you through until the end, when we're celebrating that day that you send me an email in all caps and you say, Kelsey, I got the job. Then you could be on the podcast. But I'll be here until then, keeping you accountable and encouraged by meeting with you literally until you land the job you want, even if that's up to 6 months from now within our program. Apply to join at thecalledcareer.com, and I'll see you next week here at Answer the Call. Bye for now.